for September the 26th. This is the Town of Barnstable Waterways Committee meeting, workshop. Members present, I believe we have everybody. Peter Cross.
Gary Schrammick.
Gary. Thanks, Gary. Todd Melantis.
Present.
Thank you. Greg Egan. Let's see.
He's on here. He's on here.
Okay, yeah, I see Greg. Okay. And for the Town of Barnstable, we have Harbor Master Brian Taylor, Assistant Harbor Master Jay Horn, and Administrative Assistant Pam Swider-Cohen. Have I missed anybody?
Deputy Harbor Master.
Deputy Harbor Master Horn, I've got you. Okay, please note that tonight's meeting is being recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 in accordance with Mass General Law 30A. Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known, if so. Hearing none, I'll turn it over to the Harbor Master.
Good evening. Yeah, so we're going to have the workshop on the mooring regulations and proposed fee schedule changes for the Marina Enterprise Program. We're going to dive right into the mooring regulations now. Jay, I'm going to share my screen so they can see the current mooring regulations, and you can just get right into some of the topics we're going to discuss. Important to note, this is just a preliminary meeting. We only have a half hour. We're going to talk about a few of the items that we would like to potentially change. And then moving forward at another Waterways Committee meeting, once the regulations have been rewritten, submitted to the Waterways Committee in an email, and you have time to review, we'll come back to it at a regular meeting and take a vote on it and proceed along from there. Understood?
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so as Brian said, just a little bit of an overview of some things that him and I had discussed and we'd like to see changed moving forward. I've been the mooring officer for 3 years now, and I spent some time getting accustomed to the regulations, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, we just have some minor things that we're going to present tonight. For starters, for those of you who remember, if you've been mooring permit holders for a while, we used to assign mooring tags that the permit holder would put on their mooring ball. We no longer issue those tags. I don't know, when's the last time we've given them out, Brian?
Ooh, 2019, Pam? Is that correct? 2019, I believe.
Yeah, before I came to office. So 406-6 mooring tags. We are just gonna remove that from the regulations since we're no longer using them. That's kind of a no-brainer. What else? I guess we'll just get right into it. 406-16 for waitlist procedures. Right now, we have a deadline of February 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
that
correct.
All waitlist renewals are due by. However, our mooring permit renewals go until February 28th. So I'm going to be suggesting that we extend the amount of time someone has to renew their waitlist so that it coincides with the mooring renewals. So we're going to shift that date from February 15th to February 28th. Everyone will have a couple extra weeks to get their waitlist renewal in. And I think it'll just avoid a lot of heartache and confusion when it comes to the renewals of these waitlists.
And the deadlines, because we've seen that a few times. And just real quick, Jay, we're just going to add to that. We used to have you to deliver your mooring permit renewal or your waitlist renewal in the office or come in by mail. We were going to look to extend that 4/15 deadline to actually midnight on the 28th. That way, now that we have an online program and people can renew online everyone can continue to proceed renewing online, even if our office is not open.
That's right. So if in person, it'll be at the end of the office day, right? And then online, it'll be midnight.
Issues, questions? Seeing none?
Not so far. Are we gonna, well, I'll let you go ahead.
I guess while we're on the subject of renewals, we were talking about changing the date a little bit, Brian. I'm not sure if we landed on a decision on that or not. It used to be when we did the mooring permit renewals, we mailed everything out at the end of December. People received them on or about the first of the year. And then they would, either come into the office when we open back up, or they would mail them in. And we'd start processing them as they came into the door. Now with the online system, the past couple of years, we've been launching on January 1st, and it's kind of been problematic because we're not open. Mooring Info, the software program that we use, isn't open, and we've run into some glitches with the launch date on January 1st. So I think we were talking about extending that
For the next business day.
till the next business day when the office is actually open. And then we would push the April date out a day or so, right? Instead of April 1st.
Yeah, potentially. So the real issue here is we would love people to be able to submit their documents before they go ahead and are able to renew. So realistically, you could upload your vessel registration and your inspection report, and everything would be completed before you actually go ahead and pay. The software is not set up like that right now. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make that change here in the small window that we have. We've been talking about it for a year, but I think it's going to require an upgrade from the system. So really right now, we're going to keep all the dates the same except for the wait list date, which will extend out to the 28th. But what we'll go ahead and do is, instead of launching on January 1st from our homes with businesses being shut down and the mooring software company being shut down, we'll go ahead and do it on the next business day, which I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't know. I want to say the 2nd or the 3rd. Following the next business day, we'll go out and get those renewals out. So it would be a couple days behind. Any issues?
We
No,
still give people the same amount of time to renew, right? They extend that April date out a couple of days, or what are you thinking?
With the late fee? Yeah, because right now it's March 1st to the 31st. I mean, that's something we could talk about. I don't know if a day is gonna make or break it. But again, our end goal here is to be able to have the system tell you renewals coming up, upload your registration or whatever documents you're missing way before the January 1st deadline, but we're not there yet.
Okay. I guess next up would be appropriate vessels registered to a mooring. Years ago, when Jack Mead was running the show, I proposed this. And what we're trying to do is get rid of the placeholders that I've seen. Where's all that background noise coming from? Sounds like somebody's doing the dishes.
Sorting the silverware.
Yeah. So again, we've talked about this before. I'm trying to get rid of the placeholders on the mooring permit renewals here. A lot of kayaks, a lot of dinghies being registered to moorings. We have town landings that can accommodate kayaks and dinghies. So I'm trying to put some verbiage in there that a mooring permit holder has to have an appropriate vessel registered to the mooring. We do have a grace period for people who sell their boats and are in between boats. Those legitimate permit holders aren't my issue. It's when I see a dinghy being registered to a permit 2, 3, 4 years in a row. Those are the guys that I'm going after, trying to tighten up the regulations. As you know, we have a lot of complaints about unused moorings in the town. I hear it every day. I get emails about it every day. And while I can't go out there and check every mooring in the entire town, what I can do is try to start tightening up these regulations and require them to have an appropriate vessel registered to the mooring. So I'm gonna get some verbiage together on that for you guys and present that, but that's another one of the changes that I wanted to see moving forward. This one's just a little technical. We allow the transfer of moorings to any immediate family member. It can be a spouse, can be a child, father, mother, etc. That's only supposed to occur once every 365 days. I want to change that per calendar year, and that's because people come off the wait list and the mooring gets permitted in somebody's name, let's say in October, and then renewal season comes and they want to transfer that mooring into their spouse's name or their son's name. Again, it's just a little bit of a technicality with the way we have the days written. So I want to move one mooring transfer per calendar year, not per 365 days.
I'd be in favor of that as long as there was a caveat in place, whether written or just understood, that in the event of someone's passing, they could make that transfer.
Yeah, that's a good point. If someone, so that would mean 2 mooring transfers in 1 year, Todd, is that what you're talking about? The mooring gets transferred and then someone passes away?
I understand the premise behind what you're saying. I guess I'd hate to see someone fall victim if someone passed away and they were trying to deal with the estate and what have you, if there was an asset in the estate and we were the obstacle in their way of transferring the mooring. Whether it's not written to simplify things, I fully understand. But at least I think it's a point that needs to be acknowledged, that we should be prepared for that provision.
Yeah. Yeah, I always do my best to work with people, especially when, someone passes away. So I don't see that being an issue. The issue is the moving people off the wait list, guys. Here's the problem. Mrs. Smith is on the wait list. She gets offered a mooring, but the boat is in Mr. Smith's name. And the way the regulations are written right now, the permit holder has to match the name on the registration or the documentation. Sometimes Mr. Smith has that vessel registered in a trust and they can't transfer the ownership of the vessel to Mrs. Smith. So the only way around that is to permit the mooring in her name and then wait until the following year when we can transfer the mooring into his name. Because again, these two things have to match, and Brian and I have been talking about this, and whether or not we're going to allow a spouse to be on the registration moving forward. Am I explaining that right, Brian?
Yeah, so realistically, what we're trying to do is communicate the issues we're having with the waitlist offerings and let you understand that sometimes individuals have boats registered in various names, usually a husband and wife, for whatever the reason may be, and they don't line up being the registered vessel to the registered mooring permit holder. So we want to allow some time, or maybe sort of a grace, for those people to figure that out, to re-register that vessel in the individual's name, because the regulations right now read pretty black and white. The vessel must be registered in the individual's name, same as the mooring permit. So we're going to try to write something up, like Jay's saying, where it's, maybe they have a year grace period, a calendar year grace period, that they can change over that registration to the individual or transfer it to the other, husband or wife, to make it legal.
Yeah. And if the vessel is documented, the town allows the husband and wife to be on the documentation together, as long as the permit holder is listed first. Unfortunately, with the state, 2 people can't appear on the registration. So that's what we're running into. The vast majority of our boats are registered with the state. They have MS numbers, and it doesn't allow for you to put an additional person on that registration.
That's right, but we did this change back in 2016, I believe, where we allowed a husband and wife to be on the title and then the boat to be registered to the permit holder. These are the issues we're running into now. the people are registering the vessel, husband or wife is on it, the other person's on the wait list. So we just need a little bit of leniency to make that transfer over and allow people time, because it's not instantaneous.
Let me ask the committee, does anyone care if the boat's registered in the husband or wife's name? Does anyone have an issue with that?
I wouldn't.
Am I on here? I can't.
Go
You're
ahead,
on, Peter.
Thank you.
Is there any way the legal department could put verbiage in there so that if the permit holder is a spouse of the boat owner, that we could look at it as them being one entity, and you know, it doesn't make any sense. The boat that I own is registered, I think, in both of our names because it's titled. But I hold the mooring permit. You know, if it would just seem that it would be so much easier if we put language in there that a spouse could also take the permit.
Or be on the registration. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Agreed.
here for. I'm just trying to make things a little bit simpler. To me, you know, the only problem I foresee is the event of a divorce. But again, whoever the mooring permit is registered to is the owner of that mooring, in my eyes, regardless of who the boat is registered to. That's how I see it.
Well, in the event of a divorce, you'd have to figure out who gets the mooring permit. I mean, it's
Yeah, the town's out of that decision.
yeah, it's a tangible asset that the courts should deal with, not
Yeah.
the mooring. You guys don't want to get into the divorce business.
You certainly
Exactly.
don't, and I actually know of a case where that has gone to court and both claimed ownership of the mooring, but one person's name was on it and the spouse's wasn't. So it does become an issue.
It does.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we don't permit moorings in two people's names. It's only one person on the mooring permit. That's not going to change. I'm just talking about the technicality of the registration.
Mhm.
Okay.
We're going to get more involved in this in the workshop.
No, we're gonna actually, you know, modify some of the regulations like that we're talking about tonight. Highlight the changes, communicate to the Waterways Committee the changes. You can review them. We can have multiple meetings about it to talk about it, or we can move along with a vote, but that will be up to the chairman and the rest of the committee.
Excuse me one
Can-
second. I have a golden retriever that needs to go out.
The last thing I just wanted to touch on, Brian, are the wait list and the mooring fields.
Okay.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can
Yeah.
see it.
If you're not familiar with the north side, this is Barnstable Harbor. For some reason, there are two mooring fields right next to each other that have two separate wait lists. We have Barnstable Harbor Main, we have Barnstable Harbor Main East. Currently, there's 5 people on the Barnstable Harbor Main wait list. Those 5 individuals have been offered moorings for the last 3 years. They do not take one. And what I want to do is merge these 2 mooring fields together so that there's just one. We're going to keep the Barnstable Harbor Main East mooring field. We're going to merge it together with the Barnstable Harbor Main. And my proposal is we take the people on that wait list, we merge them together by the date in which they signed up for that respective mooring field. I don't know why this is 2 mooring fields. It doesn't make any sense to me. So to simplify things moving forward, I just want to make that one mooring field over here on the north side.
Just a question on that, Jay. So you want to take the Barnstable Harbor East and merge it with which one?
Barnstable Harbor, Maine, the one to the west of it.
Okay,
I would redefine the whole mooring field, get it approved with the Army Corps of Engineers. And again, there's only 5 people on Barnstable Harbor, Maine. At this point, according to the verbiage in the regulations, I can remove them from the wait list for failure to perform because they're not interested in taking a mooring. I ask them every year. I've done it for 3 years. No one will take one on the Barnstable Harbor main list. If we were going to keep them on and not remove them for failure to perform, I'm just going to merge them with the people on the Barnstable Harbor main east list, which again, the first 20 people on that list never take a mooring either. So I don't think we're going to have any complaints by merging those two together.
Okay, and the size recommendations, are they parallel? Both have the same size restriction?
Yeah, they both are 40 feet.
Yeah, those are just guidelines though, but I believe they're
Yeah.
similar.
Right,
Yeah, we'll keep the current guidelines of 40 feet.
okay.
How many times can somebody refuse before they go to the end of the line? I thought we talked about that.
Yeah, we didn't change that though. I mean,
Yeah, we've been talking about it for years.
we just started tracking it the past few years with the new program. When Jay offers it, he can track it now. So I don't think we're at the point now yet, unless you think so, Jay, to actually start pushing those people down the list.
Well, this year's my 3rd year, so I think we'll have some data to look at moving forward and make a decision about that. It's a tough call. I talk to people about it. Why don't you take it? They're waiting for their kids to get out of college. You know, there's various different reasons why they don't accept these moorings. I do have to say though, there's a tremendous amount of dead weight. Back when all the wait lists were open and the mooring fields were enclosed, people just added their name to everything. And for some reason, they just like to renew it. They like to see their name at number 1, number 2, and they don't mind paying that $15 fee every year to keep it on there just in case. So we'd have to have some discussions about removing them. But as of right now, we're just collecting data so we can have a better idea of who passes, who doesn't. It helps me out a lot because when I go to offer these moorings now, I can click on the wait list and I can see that for the past 3 years, the first 20 people have passed. And I know I can just send out 20 emails right away and that no one's going to take a mooring. So it sped things up for me collecting this data. I don't have to waste time and wait that 5 days hoping the person gets back to me. I do wait. If they get back to me, they can certainly have a mooring. But it kind of gives me a starting off point of where I can expect to get some results when I get into the offerings.
Well,
Jay, go ahead.
let's say if you pass 2 years in a row that you go to the end of the line, you know, why are they holding positions? They're placeholders. Why are they doing that when we have people behind them who are willing to,
I know.
give them some impetus to say yes, or you're going to go to the end of the line and start the process all over again.
Yeah. The problem
Why
is,
don't we do that after the first year?
I know, you know,
I just don't understand where we have closed wait lists, which potentially won't be open in some people's lifetime. And per your record keeping, which I applaud you, you're going through the first 20 people for 3 years and none of them accept it. It's got to be changed right now. If you say no, go to the end of the line. We're trying to put people on the water.
I agree with that, Todd, but on the same point, if they go to the end of the line, the list is still the same length. It's not going to extend it out. We're not going to be able to add more names. In fact, new names would come in behind them if we had a lottery. Realistically, what it sounds like you guys are saying are, if you don't accept a mooring for 1 year, whatever, 3 years, you're off the list. You're not getting to the bottom.
That's
Absolutely.
fine with,
But
I
it's
don't
not really, but it's not, this is Greg, it's not really stopping somebody who's on further down the list from getting a mooring. Because if there was an opening, they'd just say the first 20 pass. They're not, if they're passing, in fact, they're not blocking the other people. I get the points, and there should be something done. But because they're on the top of the list doesn't prevent others from getting the mooring.
That's right. What it does prevent is more names being added to the mooring fields. You're correct, Greg. We're going to move on the list. If they were number 15 and we got to 15 and they were 1, it wouldn't have made a difference. What it does prevent, though, and we're trying to get better at adding new names, is it prevents us from adding more names. You're correct.
Right.
I would personally love to see it till we get to the point that there are no waiting lists. Personally speaking, I've put my name in for the last several lotteries. The kids, my wife, my parents, we're not lucky people, I guess. We don't get drawn. But
Well-
if you have someone that's passed for 3 years, I just don't understand how they stay on there. It's bad practice.
Could
And
be
certainly
removed.
not blaming you guys. I think we have a glaring issue with it
Well,
that
it
needs
is
to
a
be
glaring
addressed.
issue. Again, but that takes it and it puts the onus on the harbor master division, because if Joe Smo has 3 years of passing, and on that third year, he just went through some life crisis, and I said, tough luck, you're off the mooring field list. We're going to have issues that present themselves. So it just puts it right back onto us and then right back to the Waterways Committee. It's another thing, just like the wait list where there's a hard deadline, there's just more issues that come up with it. Right now, we're just simply passing and going to the next person on the list. Yes, the wait list move a little slower. Yes, you're adding less people, but it puts the onus of, well, I had this issue. Then what happens when we proceed along and they find out in 6 months they've been removed from that wait list? And they said, well, my father passed away or whatever that may be. That's why I couldn't do it. And they appeal to it. And Waterways says, put him back on. Then we're jumping around these lists. It's just not that easy.
I can appreciate it, but then there's the flip side of it that people are holding moorings that they haven't used in years, and they're transferring through their families, and they're not buying boats or they're not using the boats, and you're getting no movement. I understand the challenges, and I'm not trying to complicate your life, but we're in a community on the water, and we have a problem with space. It's become a premium. And we're trying to make decisions to evolve with the times. And I think this is one of the things that we have the opportunity to try to make some changes that could benefit the community. And I think as far as access to the water, this is a big one.
No, I agree.
I just
But
want to
I-
say too, guys, is that every wait list is different. You know, Barnstable Harbor East, not a very desirable mooring field. North Bay, not a very desirable mooring field. When I get to the Katuah Town dock, maybe the first guy passes, maybe the second guy passes, but I'm getting response right away for Katuah Town dock. Waquaket Lake Yacht Club, #1 takes a mooring every year. People are just waiting to get in over there. They don't waste my time at the Waquaket Lake Yacht Club. So it all really depends on the mooring field. The worst offender is Hyannisport. Now, Hyannisport's an open wait list. It's not closed. There's currently 200 people on it. I'm on number 60 right now. I've offered about the first 50 something people didn't take a mooring in Hyannisport, and it's been the same every year. All it costs me is time. I've got to email everyone. I've got to wait the 5 days for them to get back to me. But again, because of this system, right off the rip, I send out the first 24 emails. So the first 24 people on the list, I wait 5 days, and then I send out another 24 emails, and I'm off to the races. So there is some time involved with it. But like Mr. Egan said, you know, all these people are doing is helping the people that are further up on the list. They're not taking a mooring, they're passing. I can see if the wait list is closed, that can be an issue because we're preventing people from being added to it. But every mooring field is different, so I don't want you to think that the first 20 people pass on every wait list, because that's not the case either.
We
Okay,
got to stop there because we got to jump into the Waterways Committee. So maybe we'll take it
exactly.
under matters not anticipated by the chair and reschedule for another workshop, because this is great. We're getting into it, but we got to pivot and end this one and go into the next one.
Okay. I'll fire up that link.
All right, we got to leave this meeting though, so everyone sign back in on the regular meeting, please.
All right, thank you.